We'll discuss some of the more widely used research methods in social sciences. This is not an exhaustive list. Let's begin with the first problem statement type. If the problem statement requires information about varied or different types of groups, for example, the statement could be, what is the level of awareness about artificial intelligence among journalists in language dailies in Assam? To address this research problem, we use the cross-sectional survey research method, which is often just known as survey research. It collects and analyzes data of variables collected at one particular time across a sample population. A sample population of journalists in Assam in our case. When the researcher needs to analyze a trend of a phenomenon in a population over time, for example, communication skills of medical students during the JEE, gender-specific differences in a longitudinal trend study. This could be the research problem. To address such problems, we use a trend study. A trend study samples different groups of people at different points in time, but in the same situation and from the same population. Although the sample of the selected students might not be the same, but they have to be students all the same. We administer a similar questionnaire to these group of students over time. When the problem statement requires the researcher to study the same group more than once over time. For example, the problem statement could be, what is the effect of alcohol advertising, marketing, and portrayal of drinking behavior in young people? So the same group of people will have to be tested over time. To address this problem statement, a longitudinal cohort study will be used. This is an approach that follows research participants over a period of time. Cohort studies recruit and follow participants who share a common characteristic, such as a particular occupation or demographic characteristics. The same people are studied over different times. There are research problems that seek to collect information on what is known, on what is believed, and what is done in relation to a particular topic. For example, the problem statement could be about health promotion campaigns and mass media looking for evidence. We use a specialized survey known as Knowledge, Attitude and Practices survey to address this problem. The KAP survey, like other surveys, is a quantitative method where we use predefined questions formatted in standardized questionnaires, and this provides access to quantitative and qualitative information, especially regarding knowledge, attitude and practices. If the researcher needs to know what results particular projects or intervention approaches are achieving, in other words, what is the impact of these interventions? For example, citizen journalism and cyber activism in China's anti-PX plant in Xiamen 2007 to 2009. To address this problem, we use the impact assessment method. The impact assessment is a structured process for considering the implications for people and their environment of proposed actions while there is still an opportunity to modify or even abandon the proposals. You may have heard of the environmental impact assessment. This is similar to that. If the researcher intends to overcome the intrinsic biases and the problems that come from single method, single observer and single theory studies, for example, the problem statement could be evaluating the use of multiple sources and methods in needs analysis, a case study of journalists in Nagaland. The triangulation method is used in this case to explain more fully the richness and complexity of human behavior by studying it from more than one standpoint. So there is the methodological triangulation, which promotes the use of several data collection methods such as interviews and observations. We also have theoretical data and investigator triangulations. If the problem statement asks about the cause and effect relationship between quantitative variables, not just correlation but causation. For example, it could be about online story commenting and the relation between conversational journalism and trust, whether there is a cause and effect relationship. The experiment method is used in this case. As I have discussed in a previous video, the experiment method is the scientific approach to research where one or more independent variables are manipulated and applied to one or more dependent variables. This measures their effect on the dependent variables. We have the one-shot case study research design, one group pre-test post-test design. If the problem statement is about ascertaining norms in a society, or setting goals, or developing methods. For example, it could be exploring antecedents of social media usage in B2B. A descriptive empirical study is done in this case. It addresses the what question. It deals with non-causal hypotheses. There is no causal effect. An adequate sample size is required so that we can perform the statistical tests. We'll now discuss some qualitative research methods. If the problem statement asks about the quality of texts, text could be print, audio, visual, or any such thing. For example, the problem statement could be, is Disney the nicest place on earth? An analysis of pro-social behavior in animated Disney films. To address such questions, we do a qualitative content analysis. In an earlier video, I have dealt with content analysis in a detailed manner. It consists of selecting the communication population, units of analysis, coding methods, and then analyzing the data. If the problem statement asks about the past record of texts, Gandhi in South Africa, the genesis of Satyagraha, for example. Or the problem statement could be the role of Indian media in environmental conservatism. To address such problems, we use a historical critical study. It begins with obtaining the text for analysis and an extensive search for background material and text. The authenticity of the text and the authorship is established. We apply critical standards to evaluate messages. If the problem statement asks about the interpretation of meaning of social actors, for example, a research problem statement could be, blessed are the geeks. An ethnographic study of consumer networks in social media 2006 to 2012. To address such questions, we use the ethnographic research method. It is a qualitative method where researchers observe and or interact with the study's participants in their real-life environment.